Hi, I'm Bridget Price,
And I'm Lauren Kemp.
and this is Entrepreneurs in Progress. We're back one more time for another short this week. We're going to talk a little bit about our entrepreneurial lifestyles and how it impacts our family life. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs generally are always trying to find balance between the working hours, which often feel like 24/7, and then showing up and being present for families. So I'm looking forward to briefly talking about this. And I know Lauren and I have had offline conversations around just trying to balance it all. And even if you're not an entrepreneur, I think that we all struggle with this balance, even with our work. So let's go ahead and get started. Lauren, I think that I've made jokes in the past about like when I go home or when I visit my family, they already have these Bridgetisms. Like they know what I'm going to say with regard to like, can we hang out or can we do something? My typical answer has been, oh, I can't, I have a meeting or I have a call or I have to put out this fire or whatever. And it wasn't until this past, I don't know, summer or year where I'm hearing my mom repeat it back and she's making fun of it or making light of it or making jokes. And I'm kind of like, I laughed because it's funny, but it's also like disheartening a little bit. Like this is what I'm putting out. This is the perception of me. And I didn't like it. I felt bad. I thought by telling my family or even my friends when they call me or try to get me to do something and I'm letting them know what I'm actually currently doing, I was managing expectations or I was trying to give them some idea or sense of like my busyness, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And unfortunately, I think I've created a situation where like they consider that my default. And I don't like that because the whole point of us being entrepreneurs is that we have this time or we can create how we spend our time. We decide how we go about using our time. And I feel like I'm sucked right back into this corporate 9-to-5 situation where I'm like working from sun up to sundown and this is just all my family knows. And I don't know, I'm not liking it. And I'm trying to figure out how to change it. So how has entrepreneurial life impacted you and your family? Do you have any parallels or anything similar to what I'm experiencing?
Yeah, it's definitely affected like our relationships and not even just family, but friendships as well. I think with entrepreneurship, it's more like we're exhausted, like we're tired. And so there are times where it's just, I don't feel like I have anything new to talk about. I don't feel like there's anything interesting or just in an exhausted negative space where I'm just like, I'm too tired to do anything. And I think that we end up spending some less time than doing things with friends and people. It usually happens like on the weekends. So that's where we'll be like, we can't. That's when people try and plan more fun activities. But we definitely try to strike a better balance. We got in the habit of doing a Sunday dinner with my parents, try to make sure to spend time and do dinners with Brian's parents and our sister-in-laws and friends and stuff. And it's so hard to keep up with all the relationships in your life sometimes because you're busy or tired. And then on the flip side too, they're having kids or starting families and like there's a lot going on with everybody's lives. And I feel like in this moment in time that we're in. So
yeah,
it's an energy drain. And so it's finding ways to still make sure that we're making our relationships a priority and that we're not saying no to everything. Because after a while, people will just stop inviting you to things because they're like, they always say no and they're always busy. So you start to train people into expecting no, and no one wants to get rejected every time they ask you to do something. They just stop inviting you. So I try to be very cognizant of that and not to dismiss activities or social interactions if I notice that I'm starting to not do it more often, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah, there's definitely classic conditioning, and I've conditioned my family to just accept that I'm always working. It sounds so awful. Like I've done it in a way to excuse my absence. I've done it in a way to excuse away my, like you said, being exhausted, not having the energy to really talk or shoot the shit or whatever. And it's bad. And I am super aware of it and I don't like it. And when I go back home and spend time with my mom, I try to block off a few days where I'm like not working at all. And I'm one of those terrible entrepreneurs where I'm either I say I'm going to do that and then I start checking email or start looking at some to-do lists, or maybe like my mom is preoccupied or distracted. So I try to sneak or steal away some time. And then boom, before you know it, I'm 2 hours into some task and she wants to hang out, and I need to get better about that. And it sucks because I still feel like even though we're approaching our 4th year, we're still in our growing phase and it's hard to pull away from that. But I want to be better. I don't want to be known as the person who's always on a call or in a meeting or putting out a fire or whatever the case may be. And it used to be when I worked and I commuted, what I would do is I would call my mom on my commute there and call her on my way back. And that would buy me like 20, 30 minutes of just having that daily conversation with my mom. And now that we work from home or remotely, it's a little bit harder to do that now. Or I still try to find that time every day, but it's not consistent. Where when I commuted to and from the office, it was standard 5:30, 6:30, whatever. And
you don't have that cue that's triggering, okay, like it's time to call mom now because all I'm doing is driving. It's so funny you mentioned that because I used to do that on my walk home when we were living in San Francisco. On my commute, I would walk to and from work. And so on my way back, often I would call my parents and my dad would joke about hearing sirens in the background or and we see them now that we're in Arizona now in person, but that was definitely one of those habits that you get into. So I think maybe part of it is trying to figure out a habit to start to do that again. But it's really hard, like you said, when you have such a very flexible day and there's no obvious set aside time where you have to do the same thing over and over, unless you like really commit to doing that. But I think it starts with self-awareness. You recognize that this is happening and then you're able to then take action from there. Because I think a lot of times people aren't even aware that it's happening until it's like too late or it's happened for too long. So
I think too, with family, we get comfortable. So I tell my mom, I'm not going to work this week when I'm visiting her, but then she'll say, no, do what you have to do. I understand. And then you creep into that or slip into that. And then before you know it, it's like a full blown work week when, you hadn't planned to work as much or at all. And even the nonverbal stuff. So if I'm not saying I'm not in the meeting, or if I say I'm in the meeting or blah, 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 if it's not that, but her seeing me on my computer constantly or my phone, also just being aware of those nonverbal cues too. But yeah, like with my friends before COVID, I decided to do something with them once a week just to reconnect and make sure that those relationships weren't fully lost. I feel like I still have some groundwork to make up for, but like you said, being aware and then deciding what actions you're going to take to change that dynamic in that relationship. Because just because we tell them how busy we are and they might even see it, they don't understand. And we can't always expect them to understand either. I think we have to, and really, I say that to say sometimes entrepreneurs can get themselves in that cycle of, oh, no one understands what my life is like, or no one understands like how much I work. And to be fair, sometimes your friends just want to hang out with you. They don't want to hear about your gripes about running a business and stuff like that. Yeah. But I'm working on that. I've gotten better. I'm still not anywhere near where I want to be. I'm planning to see my mom again in the next few weeks. So we'll see how that goes. I really want to be better because I feel bad and I don't like that I've created that perception of myself.
Yeah, that's tough. Everyone always feels like they can be doing better. It's give and take. If you're focusing more on your relationships, then something starts slipping in one, in career or health. You only have so much bandwidth and you can just try your best. And I think too, remembering that relationships are a two-way street. Like as entrepreneurs, if like we're busy and get stuck in work, like we can't expect the other person to constantly be the one to put the effort and reach out. I think that's too one-sided. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think definitely room for improvement. But yeah, entrepreneur life, I think you get sucked into it sometimes, or it can be draining, and you just got to remember that there are other aspects to life than just building your business.
And I will say, I'll end on this note too, that part of, I think the best thing that we can do as entrepreneurs is create a routine for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're first starting out, it's hard because you're just throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. And, you know, you're working your ass off and it's hard to really establish that routine. But the sooner you do, the easier it will be to maintain those relationships. Even sounds crazy, but even just scheduling out blocks of your day, like literally what you're going to do, like when you're going to eat, when you're going to work out, when you're going to talk to someone, that really, I think, helps and holds you accountable.
Yeah. And I think it's, again, taking care of yourself as well. When you feel better physically, mentally, you're able to stick to that schedule and to make better choices throughout your day that lead to the outcomes that you want.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. That wraps up our short for today. Feel free to shoot us a message, but be sure to subscribe, all the things. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and connect with myself and Lauren on LinkedIn. Until next time. Thanks, Lauren.
Thanks, Bridget.